Hey everyone, so I've just got a hold of the new release, the third edition of the new Fly-by-Wire mod for the A320 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So that's now all loaded in, just copied over into the community folder. So I thought we'd give this a quick test and see how the new update goes. First of all, I should say I've been very impressed with everything that the guys have been doing. They really have turned what was really for me an already good default aircraft into they're turning it into something else. I know the ultimate aim is to turn it into a study aircraft, and the amount of work they've done on it so far has been fantastic. So let's just jump into the cockpit. We're going to do a shortish flight today, put it through its paces from Stansted, an ex-EasyJet base now, up to Edinburgh. So starting off, obviously we're cold and dark in the cockpit, and I have to show you this. This is fantastic. Watch this. Oh, not that. What if it goes to night time when you jump into the cockpit? Look at that. That's fantastic, isn't it? So now you jump into the cockpit, cold and dark, and you've got your torch, so you can see to turn everything on. That made me smile when I discovered that. So let's put it back into the daytime though. I want to, just in case anything goes wrong, I'd like to be able to see. So there we are. That's the stuff. Hi John. Thanks for watching, and let's see if we can get through this setup. So, turn the external power on, the batteries. Of course, the version 2 fix sorted out the engine problems that we had with Microsoft and their latest update. So, engine 1 should no longer cause us any issues. Let's just turn all these on. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do is get the ideas sorted, because they take a while. So starting number 1, number 3, oh, and then number 2. And then I'm just going to grab the official checklist here, and we'll go through this in a moment. So turn on the nav lights, let everyone know that there's somebody in the aircraft. Turn on the passenger signs, although technically it's a test flight, we wouldn't have any passengers, but they obviously work now. The default aircraft, I can't believe the default aircraft didn't work. How difficult, I'm not a coder, but how difficult would it have been to code that? So, turn the emergency signs on to automatic, and here we go. So the ideas will align in 7 minutes. Now, I have not preloaded, on purpose, I have not preloaded a flight plan into this. So I'm going to be using the McDo to do everything manually. So we need to set this up. This was another problem as well, so we'll find out very quickly if this works. We had a problem of being able to actually enter the from and to into the McDo with the last update. So go today from Stansted up to Edinburgh. See if the first bit works. There we go, it's passed the first test, so we've got that in there. Cost index today of 8 for EasyJet, and flight number, oh I don't know, that could be anything today. Flight number 101. Right, our cruise altitude today will be 36,000 feet at minus 51 degrees, that's all correct. If you're wondering, I've got the plan here on my iPad, and that's from SimBrief. So I'll be popping that in today. If you want to know how to use SimBrief, check out one of the other videos on my YouTube channel, and that I'll explain how that works. A fantastic piece of software. Right, so let's check this is okay. This is now all filled in for us as well with the new fly-by-wire mod. So 0 fuel weight. It's looking very accurate. and the centre of gravity is already filled in for us, and a block fuel of 6.6 tonnes. Excellent. Taxi 0.2 tonnes, which is the standard amount for taxi. What I am going to try and do is I'm going to try and do a single engine taxi, which pilots do down at Stansted, because it's quite a long way down to runway 4, which we'll be taking off on from today. So we'll see what that's like. The problem that we always had in FSX is if you did single engine, if you only had one engine running, then you always veered off to the left or the right depending on which engine you were running. So we'll have a play with that a little bit later. Okay, and performance data. I've not actually put the flight plan in yet, so it doesn't know what runway we're going to be flying from. And do you know what? We'll come back to that. Let's pop the flight plan in. So this has been a bit of a bone of contention, popping a flight plan in one of these. So let's see how we get on. So we're departing today from runway 4. I have got live weather on at the moment, even though it's 8:30 here in the UK and dark. I've using the live weather, but I've obviously changed the time just because I want to see what's happening. So we're going to be using the Utava 1 Sierra departure. Oh, there it is. Pop that in. There we go, and that takes us up to Utava. Now, they've said on some of the release notes that they've now made entering the flight route a little bit easier. You can actually pop some more details in now, because if you tried it before, it was a bit of a pain. So we're going to have a go. It hasn't recognised airways in the past, so I'm going to see if we get anywhere with that first. So from Utava, the first airway is Q75. That's gone in. Let's see. We should then go to Buzzard. Now what you can do is, instead of entering everything, then what you can do is enter the next airway we will be using is T420. Now in theory I will press this and Buzzard will appear here. That's not worked. Okay, never mind. We'll type that in manually. So B-U-Z-A-D, and that's changed to direct. Okay, so that's still to be worked on, but I would imagine programming the McDo is a massive job. So we can certainly forgive the guys for not doing that just yet. So the next airway is T420. That's been now listed up to Trent, which is TNT. It's remained there that time. Then next airway is Uniform November 57. Uniform November 57. That's interesting. Okay, so it's not recognised that, but the next waypoint after Trent is Pole Hill. So pop that in there, and it is of course this one, which is put to us direct. That's fine. After Pole Hill, the next waypoint is INPIP. Using, well actually the airway is UN601 in real life, but N601 is close. Now can you enter, see you can't scroll up and down to enter more of these, so if you do enter the route that I've just popped in, the last one, INPIP, if we go to the next waypoint, the airway screen, they have fixed that now. That is wonderful, because before this wasn't blank and it just showed you everything you'd already pre-entered. So in order to pop it in, you had to just go from INPIP, put in the next waypoint, click next waypoint, and it would be added. Then you'd have to go back, scroll all the way down, and repeat that process over and over. So already that is fantastic. So if I was doing a longer flight route, which I'm not today, then I'll be able to pop that in. Okay, so INPIP, and ordinarily I would not fill in the star just yet because that's liable to change mid-flight. However, as I'm only doing a test flight and I'm not flying on VATSIM like I normally would be. I will pop the start in. So we go to the flight plan. We're going to be landing on runway 6, and it's oh, there we go, ILS 6, and it's going to be the MPIP 1 Echo arrival, which appears to not be anywhere. That's interesting. Okay, temporary erase that. Where's that star gone? I've used it before, so ILS 6, no star. Huh. Okay. How interesting. Well, that's where the Navigraph subscription comes into its own, because we would have to follow it manually. Oh, well, we shall insert that we're going to be landing on runway 6. Unless it has actually already put it in. There's a load of waypoints here, look, after INPIP. So, and Edinburgh doesn't have a mass amount of stars, so if INPIP is your last point, then that's probably... I'll check that out once we get in the air. But for now, there's the flight plan done, and it is easier to enter a flight plan if you're doing longer flight plans. So that's good to know. Okay, so that's a minute from being aligned. That's fine. Turn this up. There we are. And get the QNH for Stansted today. As I say, I'm not on VATSIM, so I'm going to quickly just launch an app that I've got on the phone and get the weather for Stansted. So the current weather at Stansted is QNH 1011, and it's showing as overcast at 3,900 feet, which, looking outside, yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Okay, that's all loaded. Put the flight director on, and then what we will do is I am just going to flick through the route, and it has actually put the SID at the start in already up at Edinburgh, so that's quite nice. Okay, so very quickly I'm going to rush through the preliminary cockpit checklist. Alright, so engine masters off, engine mode selector, normal, weather radar off, landing gear down, both wipers off, battery power checked and on, APU fire test and check. But you know what, I've not actually had a look to see if anything has been added to this. Engine 1 fire, agent test. Nothing seems to be happening there. I'm not going to push the fire suppressants, but fair enough. Anyway, so APU, we'll start the APU. That takes a while to fire up. So APU is on, and when available, air condition set, external power as required. Leave that on for now. ECAM recall, which now works. So the ECAM recall, oil quantity, flaps, check the position, speed brake is checked and disarmed, parking brake on, AccuBrake pressure, emergency equipment, and aircraft library or electronic flight bag is all sorted. So before starting, cockpit preparation checklist completed, all the signs turned on, which they are, the lights, the ADIRs are now aligned, fuel quantity balanced, check that, where's the fuel page, Fuel page, there we are, yep, that's all nicely balanced. And the altimeters both set 1011, 1011. Set and cross-checked. All windows and doors. Rotating beacon lights are on. Mobile phone off. And parking brake is on. Okay, that's the before start checklist. Just waiting for the APU now. Okay, so the APU is available, and so what we normally do is, just because the pushback in Flight Sim 2020 isn't that great just yet, I tend to use reverse thrust. You know what I'm actually going to do just for this test flight? I'm not going to use pushback at all. I'm just going to swing the aircraft around to the right, so not very professional. But I'm here to test the systems. So we shall... APU bleed is on. Mode selector to ignition and starting engine 1. And as I said earlier, I'm flying without any VATSIM or air traffic control today. I don't like the air traffic control in the default sim. And I don't really want to be on VATSIM with an aircraft which has just been given an upgrade, just in case anything goes wrong. I'm sure it won't, but I would rather do a test flight to make sure. Set the standby altimeter as well, actually. There we go. Pop the constraints on. Alright, so quickly taking a look at the SID we will be flying today. The Ottawa 1 Sierra. So initial climb altitude is 5,000 feet, that's all set. Oh, right. Sorry, you're going to hear me having a drink today. A little bit thirsty after the tea I've had. There's the barking dog. Engine 1 stabilised. Starting engine 2, and look, we get a lot more information now on the ECAM than we do on the default stock A320. Parking brakes on, hydraulic pressures up. Predicted wind shear off. Now that's down here somewhere. Where's that gone? And it's not actually... I don't think they've done it just yet. No. But that's a sign of something to come, clearly. I did see this as well earlier when I was having a quick look. You've now got a cockpit door, which, before flight, should be locked. Now there's a video button there, which normally there's a TV screen behind here, and you can have a look, see who's lurking about outside. Starting engine 2. I said we were going to do a single engine taxi, didn't I? Alright, okay, well, do you know what? We can still do that. Let's cut engine 2. Turn that off. So that's engine 2 cut. And let's start our taxi out. So if we advance the throttles now, do we move instantly over to the right? Because we've got just one engine running. I'm going to have to turn to the right actually to avoid that building, so I'll find out. We'll taxi this on a straight and narrow taxiway in a second. So let's get over to this taxiway line. And you know what, actually, I'm on a single engine taxi at the moment, and I'm not feeling a pull over to the right. Having said that, I'm hard over here on the rudder, or the tiller, and it is a little harder to move over to the left with just engine 1 running. So it may not be modelled correctly just yet. So I'm still on a single engine taxi, which airlines do of course to save vast amounts of fuel. I think, I'll have to double check this, the engine needs to be running for about 3 minutes before it can be used for takeoff. So I will start engine 2 in a moment, but let's just line this up. I'm going to take my hand off the side stick and the tiller. So this is a single engine taxi and we are actually going straight. That's fabulous. So you can do a real life single engine taxi now without being steered over to the opposite side. Alright, well, we'll start engine 2. Which is good. Whilst that's starting, let's do the before takeoff checklist. So, flaps. Takeoff briefing. Yeah, we've done that. So, flaps. Oh, I've set flaps 2. I meant to do flaps 1, which I also didn't pop into the performance calculator just there. Flaps 1 and a neutral takeoff. There we are. Very impressed with the single engine taxi working. That is excellent. Flex 2 temp doesn't work. At 20, that's just a toga temperature. So I'll be using full power for takeoff. And we'll use the full length of the runway, so no takeoff, no runway shift on that. So just back to the right hand engine. Then engine number 2 did give us a little kick to the left then, didn't it, as it fired up. So takeoff briefing's done, flap setting, flap 1, takeoff data read and received, transponder is not yet on, so they're not squawking anything to me with no ATC. And we want brakes, maximum, spoilers armed, and then ECAM memo. So if we click the takeoff TO config button, it's all green except for the cabin, which I believe is a nice new neat addition to version 3. We press the cabin announcement.
Camera crew seats for takeoff, please.
Hey, that adds another realm of realism, doesn't it? Okay, so I've also disabled for this any AI traffic, so we don't need to wait at the runway. We can get straight on. Parallel taxiway that runs alongside the runway at Stansted. Always fraught with danger. How many times have you heard about a pilot lining up with a taxiway to come in and land? Was it Harrison Ford that did that? Not long ago. Alright, so let's get on the runway. Do you know, I'm not turned off. I didn't even turn on the taxi lights, did I? Strobe lights on. Runway turning lights. Bleed air not done. Not needed, so we'll turn that off. Okay, so let's just tidy up the config of the aircraft before we do take off. So engine mode selector is normal. We have the packs on as well, so the air conditioning's on. Keep the imaginary passengers on this test flight nice and cool. In fact, you know what? No, I'll just turn those off. Leave the cockpit nice and warm for us. So all green, and we're ready to go. So a bit of forward pressure on the side stick. Start the timer. Toga, SRS, and runway. .100 knots, so just bring the side stick back to neutral. V1 and rotate. Bit of a gust there as we took off. Positive rate. Gear up. And flaps 1. Or rather flaps neutral. Spoilers disarmed. Let's pop on the autopilot and just see what happens. Climb thrust. Missed the detent there, try that again. Climb thrust. Let's see what rate we climb at now, because this has been another thing that's been mentioned many times on the forums, is we normally get a climb rate of about 6,000 feet per minute, and it is shooting up. Oh, hang on, look at that. We've busted the 250 speed limit, haven't we? So, that's worth noting when flying on VATSIM. We're way over the target speed. Just double check we are in managed mode. That's interesting. So I click that again, just there, see that? And instantly the engine spooled back to try and achieve 250 knots. Maybe it just needs a brief reminder. So let's see at what climb rate we get in a moment once it hits 250 knots. Whilst it's doing that, again, I should have set the TCAS on. Not that there is any aircraft in the sky for this. We would also as well need to turn the transponder on. Weather radar 2 if you wish. Well, that looks pretty, doesn't it? Okay, so we're at 5,000 feet and we're going to just set the climb now to, what was our flight level today? Was it 36,000 feet? 36. So 36,000 feet, and I'm going to let the aircraft manage this. See what happens. See if we climb at 6,000 feet per minute. I hear the engine spooling up to give us the power, and let's watch the climb rate. $2,500, 800, 3,000 feet per minute. 33, 34. See, realistically, you'd be looking to climb at about 2,500 feet per minute. So about 4,000 feet per minute now. And look outside. What angle are we? That's not a massive angle of attack, that is it? But 10 degrees. Actually, 3,500 feet per minute, that's not too bad, it's not unknown. Alright, we'll take that. Standard pressure. I can turn the lights off. Or I could do if I could position my mouse correctly. Yeah, come on. There we are. So, we're leaving Stansted behind. Our flight time today, according to the flight plan, is, and there won't be any delays, 54 minutes. So about 50 minutes from now. Okay, so I have noticed this. When we get to 10,000 feet, obviously the speed restrictions are lifted. And you can climb up, or rather speed up to its target speed. But in order to do that, it stops the climb. Once it then reaches its target speed, it will initiate the climbing. There we go. Look at that. And there we are off into the climb again. That shouldn't happen. But hey ho. There's no passengers on, we can knock the seatbelt signs off. So whilst we're doing our climb out, let's have a look, see if anything else has become operative. So, ground warning, ground proximity warning system, all in op at the moment. You wouldn't want to turn those off, so we'll, especially mid-flight, so we'll leave those. That's for contacting the ground crew. Well, looks like you can actually press that and get an alarm, get a tone. That's for the cabin signs. Windscreen wipers, they do work. Don't ever use them when it's not raining. Hydraulic pumps. You can't turn on the electric pump yet for when you're on the ground, so that will only fire up when you've got the engines running. Audio switching, captain's the first officer. Yeah, there's so many things are still in up, but it will come. At least that's what the guys at FlyByWire want to happen, and they're doing a great job so far. It's the little things that make it better, isn't it? Things like the cockpit door. Okay. Alright, so that all seems to be nice and stable. Let's just check this cruise, this climb. Yeah, 2,500 feet, 2,600 feet a minute. That's perfectly fine. We do still keep getting top of descent arrows in the wrong place. Shouldn't be starting the top of descent there. We're not that close to Edinburgh, not yet. 70 miles from Trent. if you look at the fuel used as well, that's because we did the single engine taxi. So I'll go to the fuel page, and we are slightly unbalanced. Not enough to make a difference. Ooh, bit of wind there. Alright, good. So the climb seems to be working much better as well. Didn't shoot off at 6,000 feet per minute. Oh, there's a top of climb arrow shooting away from us there, look. So that's another thing that perhaps needs a little bit more work. One of the things I can't wait to see is particularly useful when flying on Batsim and stuff like that, is the constraints that you've got here down the right hand side next to each of these. What you can do in the real aircraft is, it says there that, well, that's strange, that can't be right. You need to be at 1,400 feet by Pole Hill. I'd hope to be a lot higher than that. But say you wanted to reach your top of climb there at Pole Hill. So our top of climb today is 36,000 feet. We typed in top of climb 360 and then hit that key. That should change to 36,000 feet, and then if you were in manage mode, which we are, the aircraft will automatically adjust its rate of climb to make sure you crossed Pole Hill at 36,000 feet. But I don't think that's modelled yet. If we pop that, no, not yet, not yet. But that's something else. Something else to add to the wish list. Okay, so whilst we're flying then, what I am going to do is I'm just going to change the weather. Not the weather, sorry, the time. And turn this to night time. There we go. Now let's have a look at the new lighting that's been implemented. Oh, I should have turned some knobs on, shouldn't I? Oh, right, okay, so right, that's the dome lights. Where is... there we go. That's the overhead panel lighting. That's the dome lights there. We don't want to use the annunciator, lights that will fire everything up. Turn on the standby compass light. Well, you can click that now. There's a standby compass in the cockpit that should come down from here. Not there yet. Let's have a look at those lights. Ah, that's what I was trying to get to. So if I turn the dome lights off, which are these here, turn that off, I'll set these to dim. There you are, that looks nice. It's much more realistic. And I think obviously change the setting of... there you are. Very nice. Okay. Nothing much more to do at the moment. Still climbing, and obviously it's reduced the rate of climb there, which is nice. working well. What I am going to do then is set up for our approach, because it's not a very long flight this. So I'm going to the next phase, and there's the approach page. So, as we're using real live weather, just bring up the current METAR information for Edinburgh. The QNH there is 1019. Temperature is 5. Oh, that's cold. And the wind is variable at 2 knots. So pop that in there. Transition altitude. I need to bring up the charts for that. So let me grab the charts for the approach into Edinburgh. And the other thing I want to do is check the SID information, the start information that we got given to us by the McDo. So it's the IMPIT 1 Echo arrival we'll be using to runway 6 ILS. And transition altitude is 6,000 feet. Decision height for ILS approach is the standard 200 feet. In fact, the weather up in Edinburgh, ceiling and visibility is fine. It's just 5 degrees with very little wind, so shouldn't really be an issue there. So let's have a look at this INPIP arrival that it's given to us. So, go back to the flight plan. So if you recall, the last waypoint I popped in was INPIP. After that, I should have been able to select ILS6. Should have been able to select the INPIP 1 Echo arrival route, but it's not given us that opportunity, which is very strange. If I select the NDB approach, no, I'm still not got any stars available. That's interesting. What is interesting about this is I've actually flown into Edinburgh, and I'm almost certain that I had the SIDs and stars in there, so I'm sure it's nothing the FlyByWire guys have done that have suddenly removed the SIDs and stars. Let's put that back to an ILS landing. No star. Arrival via Tower. No, I don't think runway 6 does arrive via Tower, if memory serves. Oh, sorry, I tell a lie, actually. It can do. Alright, so after INPIP, if I'm following and I'm looking at this, engine spools down, I'm presuming we've just reached the top of climb, and it says there our top of descent should be here, 45 miles before Pole Hill. What does the flight plan say? No, the flight plan says that our top of descent should be no, our top of descent should be in about 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, about 50 miles after Pole Hill. So that's not quite correct yet. But never mind. Just have to work that out the old-fashioned way. Yeah, so sorry, going back to the start. The actual star should be, we hit INPIP at flight level 260, which is not listed there, looking at that. After that, it's in rev, then Escdo, and then to Tartan. After which ATC would give us vectors. But I'm flying without those today. Okay, well, what we can do is we can just fly a manual approach. Just pretend that ATC's there giving us vectors. So there's Pole Hill just coming to view on the navigation display. I'll leave it like this now. What time did I actually set it to? Have a look. So set it to, actually, should I just click live? There we go. So, these are current conditions. The weather was current anyway, it was just the time of day that I'd changed, as I said. Didn't want to have something go wrong as I was testing the new mod out, and I'd be in the dark. You wouldn't do a test flight in the dark in real life, would you? So we're approaching Pole Hill. Manchester Airport is just down there, if we can see. It's my nearest, biggest international airport. Which means that somewhere over this side of the cockpit is my actual closest airport, which is Doncaster. But, ooh, a bit too much cloud cover there. There's Sheffield. Over in the distance would be Leeds Bradford, over there somewhere. I do like the way that you can just pan around and move around the cockpit. It's quite nice. That said, I've not really messed around with the view buttons that much. What I do like is, I really do like, zoom in. I do like the reflections that you get. You go down here, look. The little reflections that you get out of all the lights. That's nicely modelled, isn't it? The other day I was flying at night time and I got really bad weather, so the navigation display was just all red. And the reflection, the reflection under here, of course, was mimicking that. It was just all red. I thought that's a nice touch. Okay, let's reset the camera position. Oh, that's interesting. The timer's no longer working correctly. Oh, that's a bit of a pain. Because obviously in real life, you use that to make sure that you're climbing at the right rate, that you are burning the right amount of fuel at the right time. I suppose you can do that anyway with the waypoints. Well, that's a bug that's a bit of a pain. Particularly as if you're flying on VATSIM and you know that the next controller is online, you can work out roughly how far you are away and how long it is before you need to contact them by using your chronometer. Yeah. Oh well, I have to grab myself a stopwatch. just double check this, reset that, and start that again. Oh, hang on, it's working again now. How strange. I'll tell you what, I will set that going when we cross Pole Hill. And we'll see if that works to the end of the flight, shall we? There we go, so we'll cross Pole Hill and set the timer going. So of course the other thing is, our descent, top of descent, should be roughly 9 minutes from Pole Hill, according to the flight plan. So if that remains counting correctly in 9 minutes time, can't remember as well, you know, see the little V speeds there. I'm not 100% certain, but I don't think they were included in the default Airbus that came with the sim. I think that's another thing that the FlyByWire team has added, which again is quite a basic thing to have there for anyone who's new to the aircraft. Nice to know your limits. Okay, so if the flight plan is to be believed, we should be around 22 minutes into this flight. So half an hour or so to go before touching down. Ooh, look at the bad weather over there. No, well, we're not going over there. Another runway down there. I've seen reports as well on the forums, people saying that the lights from the runways are far too strong, the approach lights, and that you can see them from miles and miles out. So I don't know if they plan to have a look at fixing that. The next update is released in a few days' time, with all the focus on Japan, I think, and see what other items they come up with and fix. Okay, so now I'm flying at night time. I want to reduce this a little bit because it's a little bright. And have you noticed this? If you actually reduce it a bit too much, you turn it off and you get the self-test again. I've seen lots of people saying that the screens are going blank halfway through flight. I'm wondering if they're just going a bit too far and turning the brightness down all the way. And as you can quite clearly see, it does say off. So might be the reason for that. Ooh, not much to do, is there now at cruise level? We've already looked at the approach. I just wish that the approach data that we got here on the waypoints tallied up with the real charts that we get from Navigraph. I can see INPIP on the screen just there. So we're going to start our descent now, because we need to be at 26,000 feet by INPIP. So we need to lose 10,000 feet in approximately 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. I find a manage mode for this descent. Let's see what happens. Of course, in the real world, the flight plan would know that at INPIP it needs to be at 26,000 feet as per the chart, but it doesn't. It doesn't have any constraints there. I'll turn the constraints on. Nope, there's no constraints there, so we're going to have to sort that on our own. Look at the speed, we're dropping out of the sky, we don't need to drop that fast. Okay, so I'm gonna come out of manage mode and set that myself. So I want a descent rate of about 1,400 feet now. And look at the speed tape. So after in-pip, we should fly to in-rev. Here's an interesting idea. Let's try this. So after in-pip, let's see if I can pop this in. INREV. So this is manually putting the star in. It's not there. That's a shame. Would have been great to have been added that. I'll just try again, make sure I didn't do anything wrong. No. Because that's seen as the approach for Edinburgh, that it's popped in there, it won't let me mess with that. It's going to take me straight up to Tower. That's interesting that the approach speed is now set to 250, so 240. That's in managed mode. And according to the charts, the maximum approach speed is 250, but that's not until we get past in-pip. So I'm not sure why it's slowing us down quite that much. Never mind. So the one thing that it has got correct is once we do pass Tala, it looks like it's just got the certain waypoints in there which will guide us on to capturing the ILS. ILS is 108.9, and it's got that in there. The course hasn't been set though, the course is 061, key that in. So the course is the actual radar heading of the runway, which again you find from the charts. That's some headwind. Is that accurate? Yeah. I'm just looking at the significant weather charts for the flight plan that SimBrief gave us, and that is right. Thankfully, it won't be that windy when we get nearer the ground. I flew from Manchester to Portugal yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and the jet stream was over northwest France, and it was replicated in the sim. Fantastic. In fact, I live streamed the flight, so you can go back and check it. I've got the VFR map, this map, on during the stream, so just fast forward to the point where you see us on the northwest coast of France, and suddenly you'll see the plane rocking all over the place in the jet stream. So that was a nice nice little touch. So, approaching IMPIP, and we're going to be level at 26,000 feet, which we should be. And then, yeah, what we should do is go IMPIP, INREV, Escdo, and then up to Tartan. From Tartan, we then go to Tala. However, it's bypassing that because it didn't give me the choice to add that star. It's frustrating to say the least. We've not slowed down. I was just checking we weren't slowing down because we were in the approach phase. We shouldn't be yet. So the approach phase can be activated in two ways. One, you can do it manually by clicking this button, clicking that button there, activate approach phase twice, or if we can just zoom in on the navigation display, you can see there after Tala, let me just turn the constraints off, see that after Tala it says decel. Well, when you pass that waypoint, that is where the aircraft will automatically enter approach mode. But always check that you've entered the approach mode before you go in to capture the ILS. Right, let's start our descent, and we need to be at flight level, I think it's 4,000 feet. Yeah, 4,000 feet to intercept the ILS for Edinburgh. So, again, I'm going to do this in manual mode. Standard descent rate of about 1,800 feet per minute. Do you know what? Bad practice, even though there's no passengers on a test flight, to put the seatbelt signs on. What also happens in the real A320 is, even though I've set the descent rate myself there to 1,800 feet per minute to 4,000 feet, in the real A320 you would get a little arrow on the nav display telling you whereabouts at your current descent rate and speed you are going to hit 4,000 feet. So if you've set your rate of descent too fast and you're going to hit 4,000 feet far too soon, then obviously you can adjust it, and it just shows it for you on the map quite nicely. That's not yet implemented. You know what, there's some nice scenery coming into Scotland, so as we're not live, let's set the weather, set the time, just so we can have a bit of sun. Oh, there we go, that's nicer, isn't it? Plenty of people are happy with the sim, had lots of problems with it. Touch wood, I have not been one of them from day one. Not even a single crash to desktop, messing around with the lighting, the weather, anything. Don't know why, I'm just one of the lucky ones. And as you can see from the system specs, I'm not running a major high-end system. In fact, I'm only getting at the moment 30 frames per second. But that's perfectly fine for me. It's usually a little bit more if I'm not streaming, obviously. Okay, so the approach briefing. We're obviously arriving on runway 06 at Edinburgh, and it'll be a Category 1 ILS approach. We shall take the autopilot off at about 1,000 feet and fly the last couple of miles in manually. And our missed approach altitude is 3,000 feet. Climb straight ahead and then as directed. Well, no one's going to direct me today if I need to go on a missed approach. I'd not spotted that before. The pedestal lighting as well. That's nice. Oh, flying at night time is going to be much prettier now, isn't it? Well, that's the wind shear button. Doesn't work yet, but you can turn it to auto, and then that gets rid of the ECAS warning just there, look. But it isn't operational yet. We'll turn it on anyway. Just cleans up the ECAM a little bit. Shame you can't click on the access panel here and just get the drop down compass. Something else for the list. It must be said as well that I have absolutely no complaints with either the simulator or the default aircraft. That said, I haven't flown the Boeings because I don't know how. I can only fly Airbus. I took a quick flight in the Dreamliner just to see what that was like, but I'd need to do some study for that. But I'm much more at home in the Airbus. And I've just realised that our little test didn't work. The chronometer has stopped. Actually, I wonder, is that me that's caused that? Let's me check something. So the chronometer's working absolutely fine there. The moment I mess around with the time of day, right? Yep, that's me. So apologies to the guys at FlyByWire. The chronometer timer works absolutely fine. It's me messing with the time of day. Still surprised that we are at this speed here. Do you know what? I'm going to come out of manage mode and we'll just speed that up a little bit. To be fair, after passing the last waypoint of the star, the maximum speed should be 230 knots. But I don't know where it got that idea to drop the speed to 240 from, because that's not even mentioned in the star. Oh well. Never mind, we knew about it, we could work around it, you can set the speed yourself if you wish. Of course, if you're on VATSIM, you may end up flying whatever speed they tell you to fly at. Let's bring the range in a little bit now. And we're on course for the altitude we require when we intercept the ILS. There's certainly no stock simulator scenery that looks as good as this, is there? I noticed as well today that Rex brought out their meta weather program for this new flight simulator. I'm not really sure how much that is needed. So far I've found the weather to be extremely accurate. Having said that, I only fly around Europe, where I've heard it's a lot more accurate than in America, so perhaps they're targeting a different audience than myself. Okay, we can just slow up on our rate of descent a little bit, and that'll help us bring the speed back. So now I'm going to reduce the speed a little. Look, once again, in order to get the speed that I've requested, it slows the rate of descent right down. So what I'm going to do is, instead of following this path all the way around, what I could do is I could come out of manage mode and select the heading myself and fly a path to intercept the ILS a little bit closer to the runway, but you know what, I am going to leave that in heading mode, in manage mode, just because that actually looks like quite a neat approach. Okay, so landing lights on. I'll do the approach checklist. So minimums, the decision height set, engine mode selector is normal, electronic flight bag, we've already been briefed on the star, or lack of star. And then we've just got the landing checklist, which we shall go through as we approach the ILS. So, if you watch now, we're about to pass the decel waypoint. So if I go to performance, you can no longer activate the approach phase of the flight, as the aircraft has already done it for you. So if we now go into managed mode on the speed, the aircraft will want to fly at 200 knots. And to be fair to it, the managed mode of this A320 with the speed isn't bad at all, but I do find the final approach speed a little bit too quick. So unless that's something else that the guys at FlyByWire have fixed. In fact, it will tell us on here. Yeah, that's the speed it's given us there is 155. That's far too fast. We want to be more around the 140 mark. So what I will do is I will leave it in managed mode for now, But then, as we get closer, I'll pull the speed bug and enter an airspeed of 140 for landing. Cloudless skies. Could have some real fun now and just alter the weather, couldn't I? No, will not. Will not. Wouldn't be fair to the test flight. Okay, so we're at 4,000 feet, flaps 1, which then automatically reduces the speed in manage mode. Turn the landing system on. And there it is. Just double check. 19 miles away from ILS runway 06. Identification India Victor Golf. Flaps 2. Hey, windmills. I saw something today in one of the Facebook groups that apparently in the centre of London there are a couple of windmills from the wind farm like that down below, and it's due to apparently the fact that the AI interface that has built this artificial world saw them as saw construction cranes and put them as windmills in the middle of London city centre. Nothing's perfect, is it? We can forgive them for that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this into the ILS mode, reduce the range on that as well. I can see why a lot of people are really enjoying this sim for VFR flying. It's not something I've done, other than of course doing the obligatory fly and see if you can find your house, which of course I did. Everyone's done that. And fair play to it, there it was. Not only was it there, but our house actually has a different coloured roof to all the houses around it. And that too was accurately portrayed. I wonder if, I'm not going to try it because it'll really upset the flight, but I wonder if the wind is severe and gusting, the windmills are turning faster, or if the opposite is true, if it's a dead day wind-wise, there's no wind at all, and they're not turning. That'd be interesting. Might have to find that out. Okay, flaps 3. And that will pull us back to a speed of about 155, which is as calculated as our final approach speed, but I'm going to reduce that to 140. Yeah, I've not messed with the time of the simulator and look, the chronometers are working absolutely fine, so that's good news. And turn the approach mode on, and this should line us up very neatly. So glide slope is active. Again, if you're new to the Airbus, you can see how both the glide slope and the localizer change from blue there to green. Blue means that they're armed, green means that they're now active. So the localizer is now active, the glide slope is active. 14 miles out. Turn it over to line up with the final approach. One thing I've not tried in this sim yet is a full Cat 3 landing. Just because I've never needed to. The weather's not been that bad wherever I've been flying. Okay, so now I'm going to reduce the final approach speed to 140 and flaps full. So, landing checklist, cabin.
Cabin crew seats for landing, please.
And auto thrust rather. Is set and speed. Go around altitude is set, and the ECAM memo, and we need landing gear down, which I normally put down around the 6 mile mark, or certainly no later than the 6 mile mark. Make sure that we're configured for landing. So landing gear down, all the signs are on. Spoilers armed and flaps set. And as I said in the approach briefing, I'll take manual control at about 1,000 feet.
2,500.
And for this last bit of the flight, I do like the landing view. Now, interestingly enough, because the sun's behind us, whether it's just the way that the sim's rendering it, that's actually quite difficult to see the runway at the moment. Latest weather, winds variable at 4 knots. Ceiling of visibility, okay, which, as we can see, it quite clearly is. Now you can see on the ECAM as well. A lot more information there than in the stock Airbus. Once again, thanks to the guys at FlyByWire. Crabbing into the wind a bit there. We have got a crosswind of 16 knots at the moment. Looks good though, doesn't it? And as I say, I'm not running this on a high-end system. Let's see if we get that dreaded left-right roll, tilt, whatever you want to call it, when we get about 20 feet from the ground. It's been reported as a bug on the forums, and lots of people talking about it on the various Facebook
1,000.
pages. I've not really been a victim of it. Autopilot off, leaving auto throttle on, of course. Very rarely do you need to remove the auto thrust. Having said that, I'm now struggling to bring the nose up. I am struggling to bring the nose up. I have never had this happen before.
500.
If I re-engage that, I'm at full pull back. Oh no, what's going wrong here? Okay, I want to go around.
300.
So if I hit Toga, flaps 3, flaps 2, gear up. Well, I've never had that happen before. We shall go around and try again. And flap 0. Okay. Let's climb up to the missed approach altitude and come out of managed mode. Where is my heading book? Why is that not on the navigation display? Climb thrust. Well, that's very disappointing. Very disappointing. As I was literally... I jinxed that, didn't I? Said I've never had that happen before. Okay, so I take the autopilot off and just fly this manually to line back up and see if we can do it again. And interestingly enough, I'm actually battling to pull back on the stick and climb. We are still in approach mode, so it'll be holding us at 200 knots. Disarm the ground spoilers, don't need them armed. And let's try again. So, 4,000 feet. Fly this heading. Manage mode with the speed, autopilot on. Once we see the glide slope start to
2,500.
come alive again. Why are we descending? Oops. That's better. Did I not press that once I selected the altitude? Do you know what? Actually, to be fair, 3,000 feet will do for now. Just wait for the glide slope to come back into line, and then we'll make a second attempt. Here it is. So 8 miles away, let's configure for landing again before turning to line up with the ILS. So, flaps 1, I'm going to take this out of manage mode and I'm going to control the speed myself. Flaps 2. And let's start to make our turn over to intercept. Oops. That's annoying when that happens. Flaps 3. I really hope that that was a one-off, because I have never had that happen before. I've never had any issues with landing manually or semi-manually, as I took the autopilot off at 1,000 feet. I will do the exact same again. We'll see what happens. If there does appear to be a bug with this, thankfully, I've still got the version 2 mod from FlyByWire, which I will put back quickly. Okay, let's turn heading 030, and we'll try again. I've heard of a lot of people saying that alpha floor kicks in and it shoots off away from the runway. Not come across that bug before, where the plane just would not respond and pull up. Okay, turn approach mode on. Miles out on the spoilers, and I'll just wait until we're established before popping the gear down and final 4 flaps. So, here we go again. Descending with the glide slope. Localizer captured. Got that crosswind again. That's fine. Full flaps. Gear down. Let's see what happens this time. I may go sterile cockpit. Not talk until I get the thing on the runway. Or crash. To be fair, if it looks like it's going to crash, I will pause the sim and investigate a little bit more. This is the first landing I've done, or attempted. I haven't done one yet. First landing I've attempted in the new version 3 of the mod. can I alert the cabin again? It actually says that cabin's all ready. Look, what happens if I press that again? Try again. They don't become unalerted, do they? Oh, let's hope we don't end up in a field this time then. Okay, we're about to hit 1,000 feet above ground level. So I'm going to go sterile cockpit and hopefully I will see you on the ground.
1,000.
Okay, so what I deduce from that is leaving the auto thrust on, I'm still unable to pull up. I am pulling back full on the stick, as you can see on the flight controls, and nothing is working there. Throttle wheels still turning here, aren't they? Oh, this could cause a big problem in a minute. Oh.
100.
Yeah.
60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
Right, so why do I not have full control over the aircraft? That's going down into the ground, isn't it?
100.
So is that a bug? I think so. And it's not what I've ever encountered before. Oh, that's left me very disappointed. Tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to attempt one more to do a manual landing, which is absolutely not the right thing to do, but let's just try. There's the golf course, there's the coast. I'm going to spin this round. Of course, the protection shouldn't allow me to bank more than 30 degrees. I can't get the nose up. Pulling fully back on the side stick, which should have this me nose up all the way.
1,000.
And at the moment, we're headed straight for the water.
500. 400. 300.
Toga power again.
200.
And that seems to be the only way I can get the nose up. Of course, this is not how you would fly the A320 in the slightest.
400.
A little bit of rudder.
300.
I haven't even got the gear down, so this should be interesting.
200. 100. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard.
No. Well, I will do another flight tomorrow and see what happens, but we may have a problem because that's not something I've come across before. Alright, we're going to leave that there, and I will be back in a couple of days when hopefully that issue has been resolved, either by the guys at FlyByWire or the just by putting the version 2 mod back in place. I'll see you all soon.